opinion, Tottenham fans, Tottenham have the fixture list from hell. The next 8 games are going to be absolutely insane, especially because we have an injury crisis and they're going to be played every 3 or 4 days. And Frank has to know what he's got to do with this squad to cope with the pressure of playing Champions League and Premier League football with a League Cup thrown into it as well. It's not going to be easy. These games are absolutely very, very, very difficult. And we're going to see what's going to happen, how Frank's going to deal with it. In today's video, I'm going to talk about, is this Frank's time to shine? If he can get through this period of fixtures in a healthy position, it could be his time to shine. Also, I want to talk about how Frank will deal with the rotation of the squad, because it's not easy, and what midfield 3 should Frank go for when we play Newcastle tomorrow night in the EFL Cup. Also, I want to show you Thomas Frank's record versus the Big Six other than Tottenham, and give you a little insight onto how he performed with Brentford against the Big Six sides. If you're new here, please hit that subscribe button. I'm on the road to 4,000 subscribers. Thank you to everyone that's contributed to this channel. It's really much appreciated. I'm always active in the comments, so if you want to send me a message, do so and I'll try and get back to you. So, is this Frank's time to shine? In my opinion, yes. I think if he can get through these fixtures in a healthy position, or even, cut out the damages, like, in other words, don't lose every single game, then he has a real chance. Let me just read out the fixtures for you so you know what I'm talking about, because these are very, very tough fixtures. It starts with Newcastle away and ends with Newcastle away, by the way. So, Newcastle away in the EFL Cup. For me, they're the holders. They're an elite side. I think they're they're just one of the best sides in the Prem. I think they're definitely one of the top 6 sides in the Prem, if not top 7. They are very, very hard to beat at St James's Park, so we're going to really have to be on top of our game. And it's going to be, I'll get into it in a minute, but it's going to be very hard to say, come on, let's rest some players for this game, because it's not going to be easy. Then a few days later, we're playing Chelsea at home, the bogiest side we've ever played against. And no matter how poorly they are, and no matter how good we are, we still struggle to get results against them. But this is where Frank can earn his bread and butter. He seems to be breaking all the curses at the moment, because he broke the not beating West Ham for 6 years at their ground curse. We didn't beat Everton at Goodison Park for 7 years. He's broken that curse already. He's broke the international curse. So, not winning before an international break, he's broken that. So maybe he can break the Chelsea hoodoo too, maybe. Then a few days after that, we've got Copenhagen. Probably the easiest game out of the lot, but it's not an easy game, if that makes sense. It's just easier. It doesn't mean it's going to be an easier game, especially just straight after playing Chelsea, straight after playing Newcastle before that. Very intense games, very physical games. Then you've got to go in to play Copenhagen. It's not going to be easy at all. Then we're at home to Man United. Man United, as of today, are on top form and won 3 games in a row, and are, very, very, I think they're like 5th in the league or something like that. Very, very confident. A lot better going forward now, a lot better defensively. So we're going to really struggle against them too. We're at home, and our home form is absolutely awful at the moment, and the last 3 games I just mentioned are at home, so we really need to turn this home form around massively. Then it's the international break, so Spurs are playing Man U before an international break. I'm so glad that we broke that hoodoo against Leeds. Then after the international break, we're away at the Emirates. Arsenal are not even conceding shots on goal, let alone goals, and it's going to be the hardest Arsenal team we've played in many years. And we haven't won at the Emirates for 2 or 3 seasons now. Probably longer. I can't remember the stats on that. But playing Arsenal now is going to be 10 times harder than it has been in the past. They don't like... Put it this way. They don't like shots on goal for them, and we don't have shots on goal, so we really need to turn that around and turn it around fast. I'm hoping after the international break, Mawani will be in full speed, and Sri Lanka will be back by then, and Kulu hopefully at some point around that time be back in training, hopefully. He won't be playing against Arsenal, that's for sure. But hopefully Solanke Moani's back fit. Hopefully Xavi Simons is firing again. Or firing again, I mean just firing. And then after that, a few days later after the Arsenal away game, we've got PSG away, which is one of the best teams in Europe at the moment. So it doesn't get easier, it actually gets harder after the international break. And then a few days after PSG, we've got Fulham at home. And we're Hawthorn at home. So that could be another very, very difficult game for us. And then lastly, on the 2nd of December, we have got Newcastle away. So all this started on the 29th of October, which is tomorrow, against Newcastle away. And it ends on the 2nd of December away to Newcastle, which is basically just slightly over 1 month. We've got 8 very, very hard games in 1 month. You know, if you played once a week, that's 4 games. We've got to play 8 games in that month. So it's absolutely insane. It's going to be very, very difficult. So how will Frank deal with the rotations of the squad then whilst he's playing these games? Well, it's going to be very difficult. You can't rotate players that are not there. And we currently have 9 players missing. If I tell them off the top of my head, I probably won't get them all. But Basuma, Takai, Dragushin, Kulusevski, Madison. See, I'm struggling to remember them all now. There's so many. Solanke is another one. It's just so many. Davis is another one. Any midfielders? Yeah, I've done Basuma. Any more strikers? Because we've got loads of strikers out. Well, we've definitely got 9. Just look it up. So having all these people out, I'm hoping though for some of these fixtures, like people, Romero and Udogie are out as well, by the way. I forgot about them too. So if you look at it, hopefully Romero and Udogie will be back for the Chelsea game. I heard Frank talking about that they're on the grass. He said Solanke's on the grass as well. So maybe all of these fixtures we won't be without all those players. And I think Dragushin's training as well. I think Takai's training as well. So there is a chance that a lot of these players will be back, but none of them will be match fit. None of them will be fit enough to start games. So it's still going to be very difficult. So how would he deal with the rotation? Even the fullback situation is pretty poor. When your Udogie's missing, you know, you can't play Spence and Porro every single week. So Gray's been filling in at left back. So Spence got a rest at Monaco. So he might be okay for the Newcastle game, maybe the Chelsea game. But then you'd have to rest him again against Copenhagen. The midfield is probably the easiest to rotate because we've got the most fit players that are in the midfield. Even though Kulusevski and Madison are unfit, you still got Bergvall, Gray, Xavi. Even Odeberg can play in the middle. Sarr, Bentancur, Paulinho. So you can rotate them. That's fine. But going forwards, we haven't got many rotations we can do. And in defence, we haven't got many rotations. Danso can rotate Romero normally, but Romero's out. So yeah, it's very difficult. You can rotate Kinski and Vicario, I suppose, but there's not much Frank can do to this squad. And players like Kudos runs himself into the ground. I do not want him to get injured. Players like Paulinho, like absolutely insane impact these two players have made. I do not want them playing every single game getting injured, and then we'll be stuffed because those two are absolutely vital to this side. They really, really are. So what midfield 3 should we go with against Newcastle? Now, for me, Newcastle have one of the best midfields in the league, and along with Chelsea and Arsenal. But we're playing Newcastle tomorrow and then Chelsea a few days later. So it's not like we can play a weaker midfield at Newcastle and then a stronger one against Chelsea. You need a strong midfield for both. So I'm not sure whether Frank will play Paulinho for both games. I'm not sure we should risk him for both games, but if Frank wants to win a trophy, he should play Paulinho against Newcastle. If he wants to beat Chelsea more, he should play Paulinho against Chelsea. And even if we play our strongest side against both these sides, it still doesn't guarantee that we win. So he has to rotate. He has to rotate at some point. The midfield I would go with, I would actually put Papa Sarr in the 10 so he can win the ball higher up the pitch. And he did a brilliant job when he was playing in the 10 before. So that means I would put Bentancur and Paulinho in the midfield to give us that ball winning mentality in the middle, because Newcastle's midfield is absolutely like Joe Linton and Guimaraes and Tonali. Like, they're excellent midfielders. So Spurs really, really need to be competitive against them. But then when you play Chelsea a few days later, they've got Caicedo, Fernandes. Like, so it doesn't get easier. So it's going to be very hard for Thomas Frank to pick what players he's going to pick, but let's give him a bit of leeway, because it's not going to be easy to pick a side against Newcastle. And if you pick a weaker side, people are going to complain, oh, we didn't go for a trophy, for example. But who is he supposed to rotate with? There's not many rotations he can make in these games at the moment until players come back. I'm hoping Romero and Udogie are back for the Chelsea game. That'll freshen it up at the back at least. But it's not going to be easy, not at all. Now, Thomas Frank's record against the Big Six, but I'll do it against the Big Five, not against Spurs. Even though Thomas Frank has beaten Spurs with Brentford as well. This is under Brentford, by the way. So Arsenal in 9 games, he's only won 1 and drawn 2. So it's not like the greatest. But the good news is, in Chelsea's 9 games he's played against Chelsea, he's won 3, drawn 3 and lost 3. So he's won just as much as he's lost against Chelsea. So he knows how to beat them, which is a good thing. Against Liverpool, he's only won 1 and drawn 1 and lost 6 in 8 games. Man City, he's got 2 wins over Man City and 1 draw and 5 losses. So, but those 2 wins that he got against Manchester City was in their treble winning season. So that's quite impressive in itself. And against Man United, he's got 2 wins and 1 draw and 5 losses. So he's beaten every single one of those teams at least once. And that was his bread and butter when he was manager of Brentford. People like either bookies, anyone would say Brentford ain't got no chance against these sides, and he seemed to keep pulling out wins or draws. And also some of the losses he had against these Big Six teams, he could have won. Like, there was a 4-3 against Liverpool at one stage where they were 3-2 up, I think. So there's times where he's really, really took them to the wire, these teams. He knows how to play against them. I'm just really curious to see how he does it with Spurs. We've already played Manchester City this season and won, so that's 1 tick already. Let's see what he can do against Chelsea, Newcastle, Arsenal and Liverpool in the future. And if he does that, the future is bright for Thomas Frank. I just want to point out one more thing. If Thomas Frank goes through this hard fixture list, and it is hard, it's very, very tough, with all these injuries as well, and he doesn't get good results, and he gets draws and losses, and and teams are beating us, and it will feel really bad, and I hate losing to Chelsea, and I really hate losing to Arsenal, but you have to just look at it logically and go, well, what was he supposed to do? Every 3 or 4 days he's got a game. He's got 9 players missing. He's got, tired players trying to play every single fucking game. It's not going to be easy at all. I don't want fans to then start turning on Frank, saying he's not good enough, doesn't know what he's doing, he's a mid-table manager, like I've heard the last few weeks. Just think of what he's done so far. Undefeated in the Champions League, 3rd in the Premier League, with all these injuries so far. If some of these players can come back, even 3 or 4 of them come back, so he has a chance to rotate, I honestly believe he can do a lot better. If we can go into the Christmas period in a really good position, let's say in the top 6, then we can really try and fight for that top 4, especially if we have a really good couple of signings in January. That'd be brilliant, it really would. Let me know in the comments about today's video, what midfield 3 would you play against Newcastle, and how do you think Frank should deal with the rotation of the squad with all these injuries at the moment? Thank you for watching, and come on you Spurs.